You're now listening to the Shift Training Show, where we're focused on improving the quality of human interaction. We focus on this through the lens of holistic health and personal development. I'm your host. My name is Flip.
My name is Vaughn. I'm your co-host.
All right, and let's get started. What do we got today, Vaughn?
Today, we're going to be describing what polarization means.
All right, polarization. That's a hot topic right now. Everyone's getting polarized. So where are we going?
Yeah, with this, it doesn't mean you need to be mean, you need to be yelling. You know, if you have a certain beliefs and standards in your own identity, then you will be polarizing. But if you are somebody who's trying to fit in and trying to pretend that you like everything else, you know, like for example, you're in an environment where everyone likes this certain values, likes certain food, likes certain culture, or things like that. Even though it's not aligned to you and you try to fit in, then you are not going to be liked.
Okay. So basically going all in on one bucket, you're guaranteed to not be liked. And what about if you stay in the middle of the road?
You stand in the middle of the road?
Yeah, if you're in the middle, like you're not, polarized one way or the other, you're just kind of like in the middle. What does that mean for you?
It means that you're standing up.
Does that mean you're standing out or trying to fit in?
Trying to fit in.
That's an interesting question. What if you don't choose sides? I think this is an interesting dichotomy to explore because I think it's both. So for example, when you're like, oh, I want to hang out with this group or this group, all this or all that, all this, none of that, one or the other, right? I think that's one of those things, like, especially in our current environment right now, political environment and people's opinions and such. I think it's like wanting to be on a team, right?
Right.
So if I'm part of this particular team for this particular reason, it's like fitting in, but also being loud so you stand out-ish. I don't know. What do you think?
I think my idea on this was believing in your own ideas. And just because something is trending, you are not someone who just follows.
Oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. Yeah. I would say that that's true. So whether you're kind of being in the middle, if that's what you genuinely align with,
right,
then you're not following. If everyone starts going, yeah, we need to do this, and you tag along, then you're kind of following.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds good. Makes sense to me. What else we got?
Yeah, I mean, what would be a good example for that for you? Can you elaborate on that?
Being like polarized?
Yeah.
That's easy. That's people fighting in the streets for something they feel is very important to them, and regardless of what side they're fighting on, they're choosing to lean all in on one thing or one set of things. And there's messaging around that where it's kind of like you're standing up for what you believe. I think that it's on a spectrum. Like they're standing up for what you believe, and now I've gone all the way to the extreme. So depending on where you stand on this side, that's like all the way to the extreme. Doesn't matter. There's a gradient. I think there's that spectrum, that range.
Okay. So I think of this like, imagine if you love basketball and then you try to pretend that you don't like basketball just for you to be liked by everyone else, then you're not going to feel aligned. You're not going to feel like authentic. You're not going to feel like yourself. But if you're somebody who says that you are someone who loves basketball, you play every day, then you're going to attract the right people.
Yeah. Also probably attract the attention of people who are like, why do you like basketball? Why not football? Football is way better.
Exactly. And another analogy of this is like, if you turn on the radio, there are weak signals, and if you turn it on the right signal, then you'll have a better connection. How do you think being polarized is connected to human connection?
I think it's disruptive, and I think it's harmful. I think it's bad. If you ask me the short version, that's the short version. I think that it's missing the mark. For you mentioned that it will align you with the right people. But at this point now, I don't know if I really believe that as a thing. Like, for example, Right contextualized by what? Like, how do you know who the right people are for you? What's the signal or indicator that that's the right group of people or where you should be? How do you know?
I think from what we talked about before, which is knowing your values, your standard, who you are.
Right, but someone who's polarized is leaning all in on that. So if they're all in on that, that means they're in an echo chamber. So does that mean that being in the echo chamber is going to serve the values or the beliefs, especially if they want to believe in something that is not aligning with a value? And they believe so strongly that they're sacrificing certain values without even realizing it because they think they're one and the same? I don't know, because that means all you're going to do is be enhancing your ability to abandon what you really value because you believe something. So I don't know that I believe that unless a person has discernment. If you can't discern, or you're not developing discernment where you can tell the difference between your values and beliefs and what is or is not actually serving you, just because it sounds good, just because it feels good, just because everyone's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you want to be around a bunch of people where you're all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you want to make sure you're not the only one alone. I would really look at where does the root of that come from? So if the root is not a good place, then I would not clap hands, condone, say that's a good idea. I would say it's bad. That's why I would say most things have to do with polarization. I just think about it as people are willing to contend with other people instead of have a conversation. And being willing to contend with people instead of have a conversation, that's a choice. You'd rather combat than to collab. And I think collab is better than combat. I think there's a place and time for combat, but it shouldn't be your first choice, especially if you haven't given thought to other solutions first. It just shouldn't be the first thing that comes to mind.
All right. Okay. Yeah. At that point, what do you think is the difference between being real and belonging?
I think that being real or authentic or true, all these different things, there's so much nuance in this. You said real and fitting in. I think that when you are, let's say, real or true to yourself, real to whatever your experience is, however that works out, you will fit in somewhere. You'll fit in with other people whose story fits or is similar to your story, because you guys can relate. If you can relate, you can resonate. It's hard to resonate with people you can't relate to, right? So for me, there are certain behaviors or mindsets that I just cannot relate to. And for me, they automatically represent a boundary violation, which equates to disgust for me. So it's hard for me to resonate with people when I see those things. Even if I don't think there's anything wrong with the person, the value, they've made it such a big part of their identity. It's hard for me not to squint my eyes when I look at them, to try to not look at them so sideways. And it's just tough like that. But people who are, if that's their genuine experience and that's all they ever know, but they're also open to other things, that's where I respect them the most, because they are aware of what's true to them, but also open to understanding what else is true beyond their experience. And I would say that's the most real and most authentic you could actually be, is this is what I know and this is what it is, and I embrace it, and I know it's not the whole story. That to me is, you are safe in your story. You're safe with yourself. So your ability to be real transcends the person who says, no, I'm only this and this is all I ever known and this is how I grew up and this is just me. I think that's still protectionist. I think you're still holding on to something, so I don't think you can be as authentic as possible. I think you'll still be lacking if that's how you approach things.
Okay, so if you're trying to be authentic, it means that you're being open to, not just what you have known. You're also open to what others have to say.
I think
background.
Yeah, I think for peak authenticity, yes, because it's like this. When people think about this, they think about it. It's kind of like if you're defending it. Most people are defending something that looks like their identity, right? But how do you know your identity is solid if it's not tested?
Right.
How do you know your skills are solid if they're not tested? How do you know that? You don't know. So the best thing for you to do to really be like, nah, I'm about as legit as it gets, is saying, it's been tested. I've gone this, I've done that, I've explored this, and you know what? These are the things that seem to be true. Some of this I used to believe, but it's not so true, but this stuff is definitely true. Like, how would you know? To me, that person has a greater capacity for being their most authentic, real self, because they're willing to, they're able to be grounded, but also willing to explore. It would be like saying, my identity is my safe place, I can never leave home. In my mind, I go, then you can't possibly know what's going on in the world. if you've never even been outside of your city or town, you've never been to another state, province, country, you don't know anything about the world. And I think that in order for you to really even start to understand what's going on, even if it's scary at first, I think that you'll start to be a little bit more stable and capable of being more authentic when you start to that exploration. But I think without it, you're capped. You're capped at whatever identity you've been brought up in or subscribed to. You're just capped right there. You're limited. Hey everybody, cutting it really quick just to give a shout out to First Form. We're promotional partners with them and we love their stuff. Obviously, as you can see, we've got some First Form clear protein right here. Sensational. We've got vanilla, goes good with everything. And then ignition goes great with both of these. That helps with muscle recovery. Magnesium for the sleepy weepy. If you struggle with sleep, magnesium, core 21 or night tea, it's gonna get you right. And then for digestion, can't go wrong with the greens. They also have the reds. Shaker to mix it all up. Water is a must. And gear bag if you're a gangster. So if you're interested in purchasing anything from First Form, please check out our link in the description. And now let's get back to the show.
And I like the definition of Gandhi's definition of authenticity, which is what you think, what you say, and what you do is in alignment, you experience authenticity. So basically, if you have no consequence on the thing that you're gonna do, then I think that's the most authentic you could be. But what about the impulse?
Oh yeah. I think that alignment is a great way to check for authenticity. Alignment is essential for being able to be authentic and be true and show up as your best self. I think when you bring in the factor of impulse is one of those things where it's like, where's the impulse coming from and why and what does it serve? It's really hard for me to think of things slightly different than the way that I do, just because I know that I myself have a utility framework, like a utilitarian almost. Like I go, why? What are we doing? What's the purpose? How does this help? That is a core function of like how I frame things. So I know because I frame things that way, it makes me miss things. But or maybe equate value relevant to that. So I might not value certain things that have, if it has no utility, I might value it less. The utility might be like, it just brings people joy. That's still utility to me, it still serves a purpose. But if an impulse has no purpose or I can't discern the purpose, me personally, I'm not likely to honor it because I go, the impulse might not be aligned with what's true for me. So it will make me act out of character. It will make me not be authentic if I let the impulse decide for me. And for some people, it aligns with their character and their behavior to, I just go with whatever I feel. They are impulsive. So for them, the question becomes, does being impulsive help you feel like you are the truest, most authentic version of yourself? And does it bring you closer to what you claim you want and value and believe in your life? I don't know. Like if it doesn't, then maybe you should reassess that. And if it does, cool, like live your life, do you?
So how do you even get closer to your authentic self if someone's asking there and the audience?
How would I get close to my authentic self? I think exploration and testing yourself. I would say there's a bunch of different practices which we know of that we would go through, but it's like being able to identify what you know about yourself, what you know to be true. You're good. And not just about yourself, like also being able to, not just from your own perspective, but if you ask some people that are close to you, like something that I've done a couple different seasons in my life is I've asked maybe 5 or 10 people that have known me for a long period of time. And I've asked them what are some of the things that they know. What are some of the things they know to be true about me over the years that they've known me? What have they seen persist? What have they seen change? Because getting other people's perspective as well as my own helps me to really better understand what's happening. I think even that process in itself is a way to better align and get closer to authenticity, because then you're, 1, being open to new information, 2, being willing to assess or adjust your lens based on that extra input.
Yeah, I think that what you mentioned.
Need water? You got water with you? Mom, I need a water. All right, let's go.
Yeah, you're spot on. In terms of like exploration, I think just knowing yourself, having this self-awareness will definitely help you with that authenticity. As simple as, what do you like? What do you like to do? What's a hobby that you enjoy? What's the food that you like? Which people do you like to hang out the most? You know, which color do you like?
Yeah, let's add something to that. Those are all the things that you like and that are easier on the brighter side to look at for self-awareness. How about we look at some of the other things that help build your self-awareness a lot, which is like, what is your go-to coping mechanism?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And you had a stressful day. What's your go-to coping mechanism? And why is that your go-to coping mechanism? Are there other options that you might be willing to explore? How do you handle difficult conversations? When something is really feeling like it's going to press you, how do you manage that? I think those questions are important too, because you need to know what you enjoy, but you also need to know how you respond to things that are uncomfortable. I found that, yes, of course, it's easier to explore things that are fun, interesting, lighthearted. It doesn't cost you much, but I have heard a lot of, you don't really know what you're made of until you're tested, right? So if you're not exploring how you would handle difficulty or hardship or disappointment, whatever it is, I don't think you're really going to be able to understand how you as a creature, as an animal, as a being, how you function. So
100%. I think it's the exact same thing when you talk about discipline. Someone says they're disciplined and they've never been tested. They're not really disciplined.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good, but you don't know. You don't know. Yeah, I think that's interesting. And when you mention that, it makes me think of things like consistency, right? So we started on to talk about polarization, and we're going somewhere. So I'm letting Vaughn cook. He's taking us on a journey. But for this, like, you have to look at what you actually do, not what you think you do or what you feel you do, but like, someone's got to track you. Like we talked about accountability and credibility in the last episode, but it's like, it's one thing for you to be like, yeah, I feel really strongly about this, versus being like, you looked at something, you're like, no, I've actually done this for the last 179 days exactly. It's in my calendar, I've done it, and this is my verification that I've done it. That hits differently. You have a whole different level of trust and confidence and belief that thing is true, versus, yeah, I just kind of feel like it, something I've been doing. Like, you might forget that. Memory is flexible. Memory changes. You will forget that. Someone else might forget that. Documenting stuff, looking at what you did, journaling. That's why journaling is such a big benefit. You get to really see into your own mind. If you're documenting the things that you do, you get to see your patterns and behaviors over time. So I think that's another thing people should also consider. If you want to build that level of authenticity, you want to build your self-awareness, you want to be able to do all that, you got to start tracking what you actually do.
100% spot on that. So just going back to the polarization, what makes it toxic then?
If you go too far to one side or the other, just like anything else, you drink too much water, you're dead.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if you're drinking all the Kool-Aid and you're not asking, hey, what's this made out of?
And I think another part of that is like being someone was very polarizing. They're not. I've noticed is that they're not someone who push or force their own belief. It's just they're saying their own opinion about it.
I think that's before polarized. I think that's further on the spectrum where like you're thinking that someone can be all in on something and be grounded. That's different from polarized. Polarized to me is extreme. So if extremism is all the way on one side, that's what it means to be fully polarized. It means I'm not willing to have a conversation with that other thing.
Okay, because that becomes toxic, right? Like,
yeah, because you can't invite other ideas. You're not willing to have your ideas tested.
Exactly. So it's basically saying, okay, if you don't believe in this, then you're out.
Exactly. And that when polarization comes up in the modern lingo today, it usually refers to that. It doesn't really refer to somebody who stands on one side and stands in what they believe. It means that the person goes all the way to the extreme. And I think it's good that you brought that up, because I think some people wouldn't know the difference. Some people wouldn't know that difference between where they stand is a polarized position or polarizing or super extreme on one side or the other, or acting this way or whatever it is. Like, I feel like a lot of people would not know the difference between, oh, I stand on business and this is what I believe. I have boundaries, healthy boundaries. Oh, that's a great way to think about it. When you think about polarization, do you imagine that the person has rigid boundaries, porous boundaries, like loose boundaries, or healthy, semi-flexible boundaries, like reasonable boundaries?
I would say the middle, the healthy one.
okay, then that's not what polarized means. So that perception right there, that's somebody who's reasonable. That's just standing for something. Polarized would be the person has rigid boundaries. There's no flexibility. There's no porousness. There's no healthiness. It's all this or that. That's polarization, all the way to the extreme.
That makes sense.
That would be the difference. So if you're talking about someone being authentic or true or being able to stand for their values or something like that, that wouldn't be polarization. Polarization would be all the way to the extreme. Only this and everything else is the devil.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is it for our topic for today.
Okay. All right, guys. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please let us know. We always appreciate your comments. Like, subscribe, follow, all the things. Thank you guys for listening to the Shift Training Show. As always, we hope you have a beautiful day.